When we're going to be opening Visual Studio Code for the first time, the Mac is going to ask you whether you would really want to open up a Visual Studio Code, in which case we're going to say yes, we would want to do that. And once the application opens up, we're going to be greeted by the welcoming screen. So we can just close over here these over here in the bottom, and then over here you can see that we have release notes. Once we close the release notes, then we are greeted by the welcoming screen. Now there's a couple of things that I would want to show you, and the first one would be the interactive playground, where we can go ahead and we can actually explore the shortcuts that we can use in order to speed up our workflow. Now once we're done exploring the interactive playground, the next thing that we would want to do is we would want to create a folder where we would have a index.html file, to which later on we're going to add our JavaScript. So first things first, let's create a folder. So in my desktop, I'm just going to say new folder. Then once I have the folder, I'm just going to rename this folder, and I'm just going to say that this is going to be JS folder. So here, let me write JS, and let me just delete this. So once I have my folder, I have multiple options how I can add this folder to a Visual Studio Code. So the first option over here with a icon on the top, and over here you can see that I have an option where I should open the folder. So I click over here, and you can see that if I'm choosing the desktop, I can actually get this folder over here. Now I have another option how I can actually get this folder to a VS Code, and it's pretty similar to all the other text editors, where you just grab your folder and drag and drop it over here in the VS Code. Now once we start working, you can see that there are no files over here in this folder, since this was the empty folder that we just created. So first things first, let's right click it over here, and we have an option of new file. And I'm just going to write over here that this is going to be the HTML file, and more precisely, this is going to be the index.html file. Now one neat thing about VS Code, one of the many neat things about VS Code, that by default, VS Code is actually using Emmet. Now, those of you who are familiar with Emmet are probably going to be bored for next, let's say, 3 minutes. But those of you who don't know the Emmet is basically a way for us to speed up a workflow of HTML and CSS. Now, how this would work. So let's say imagine that always in the index.html, we would need our HTML skeleton, where we have the doc type tags and where we have the HTML body and head and all the good stuff. Now in Emmet, the only thing we need to do is type over here the exclamation mark. And once we type the exclamation mark and press the tab, the Emmet creates a HTML skeleton for us. So we didn't need to type any of the tags or any of the brackets over here. Now, those of you who are new to Emmet, I'm actually going to spend the next video as a crash course for the Emmet, just to show you the benefits of actually using Emmet. Because even though we're going to be working with a JavaScript with this course, I do find it that Emmet is very useful whenever you're doing the web development. Now, there's one last thing that we would need to do. First, I would just want to create a heading 1 over here. So I'm just going to say heading 1, and then I'm going to press the tab, and I'm just going to say hello world. And once we have our hello world set up, the next thing that I would want to do is download the extension for the live server, so we can always work side by side. On one side, we're going to have our text editor, and on the other side, there's going to be a document that we're working on, so we can see that whether our JavaScript is actually working. So for this, we're going to go to the icon all the way in the bottom that says extensions. So we just press it over here. So once we type over here live in a search, and you can see that we have first one live server. So we just click over here installing. It is telling us that it's actually doing the install right now. And the only thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to do the reload. So we're going to click on reload over here. And now our live server is actually working. So for this, the only thing we need to do is in our document, you can see that now when my HTML is set up, I'm just going to right click it over here, and it says over here open in the live server. So what's going to happen, the server is going to open the page, and we can actually place this page side by side with our text editor over here. And just to test it out, let's write over here heading 2, And for the heading 2, we're going to say that heading 2 is going to say hello people. So I'm going to write over here hello people, and over here you can see that it gives me the Emmet abbreviation. So if I'm going to press tab, now I'm going to have a hello people over here. So now we can see that our live server is working. And like I said, in the next video, I'm going to go over the benefits of actually using Emmet, and then we're going to start working with a JavaScript by actually adding JavaScript to our project.